Today, I'm here to talk about my first ever manga. I want you to go back to 2022. I think that was around the time when I've been watching Jacksepticeye for a long time, right? And he basically brings up, oh yeah, Berserk. I've had Berserk for a long time, and I read Golden Age, and he just goes on and on about how good Berserk is. And I'm just like, what the fuck is Berserk? And why is Sean talking about it so, he was talking about it with a lot of passion. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, it's a manga, and mangas are like written animes. It's like basically comic books but Japanese. And I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, he seems to love it. I fast forward a little, and then you go to, back in my college. So when I'm in college, I have this one classmate of mine who actually ended up becoming friends with later, who is like sitting alone and he's reading manga. And I'm like, yo, you're reading the Japanese comic books. And he's like, I am. And I'm like, you can do that on your phone? And he's like, you can. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Can you tell me how? And I don't even remember what he was reading it on, but he was like, sure, here's the website or here's the, place I'm reading it on. And I was like, I think this is a really cool thing. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should read Berserk because like Sean seemed to like it a lot and I really want to get into it. And then I started reading Berserk and I kept reading it. I got adjusted to the right to left pretty quick. I feel like people who don't get adjusted to it might have a bit of issues in their head because it's really not that hard. It took me like 3 chapters to get it. And I kept reading it and I kept reading it and I was like, okay, this is good. This is kind of not what I expected. It's okay. It's good. It's good. Oh my god, this is great. And that basically kickstarted something which I have grown to be so passionate about in my life. I'm not even joking. I have reached a point in my life right now where I own physical copies of mangas. I I'll be honest, this is very personal to me because I don't think I'll ever stop reading mangas in my life. Like that one mention of Berserk, of like it was just 2 minutes where I don't even remember which video it was on where Jacksepticeye started talking about it. It basically had a domino effect and it kickstarted my entire journey into manga and honestly got me back into anime as well. But specifically manga, like I'm not much of an anime guy. I'm definitely more of a manga guy, and it's something I genuinely enjoy from the bottom of my heart without having any, it's something I struggle with a lot in my life, having a passion for something without expecting returns. And mangas are one of them, and it all started at that point. Now, with that very long intro out of the way, I'm here to talk about Berserk. Yes, it's a very rough manga to start your manga journey with, but I'm glad I started with Berserk because it helped me understand how to keep benchmarks for quality and how much and what I expect from it. And also looking back on it, it's not as good as I remember. So, we're going to get into Berserk, we're going to get into what I love about it, what I don't like about it. I don't think it's flawless. I do think there are some things about Berserk which I do not like. So, we're going to get to that immediately. I'll just give you the score straight up. I think Berserk is a 9 out of 10. I think it is among the best mangas I've ever read, even though it was the first manga I ever read. And I'm not even telling this from like nostalgia biasness, by the way. I went and reread Berserk a few months ago at this point. It is pretty fucking good. It's one of the best mangas I've ever read. It will be one of the best mangas I've read. You have to understand. For me, most mangas don't go beyond 8 because that's like the best they can be. 8 is like a really good manga. Everything above 8 for me, like a 9 and a 10. 10 is basically flawless, that's not Berserk. But 9 is basically like, holy fuck, this is like, it has its place in one of the greatest mangas ever. Now, why is that? Let me get into it. Berserk is one of the best fictional stories I've ever read, right? And again, well, like I said, with the benchmarks of standards, like it's one of the best stories told. It's one of the best stories written. It's one of the best drawn stories. The art of Berserk, again, it's set a benchmark for me. It set a standard for me to be like, hey, this is what a good manga looks like. This is what good art looks like. And it's incredible. I think Berserk has, I mean, it's pretty well known at this point. Back when I was reading, I think Berserk was kind of getting popular. And at this point, it's considered like it's super popular now. You will not meet someone who's into anime or manga and they won't know what Berserk is. Like, it's become that popular at this point, right? I feel like that's also kind of why I also hopped on the train, although I was not aware of it at the time. But it deserves all the hype it gets. The art is absolutely fantastic. It's well known throughout that Berserk is one of the greatest artwork ever. It has one of the best stories ever. It's super influential as well. I would say it has some of the best fights ever. Some of the fights in Berserk are really, really iconic. I will say one fight in particular, and I think is the most underrated and no one talks about it, and it's my personal favorite over everything else. And this is for the entire arc. That one arc, the Lost Children arc. And for those of you who've read the manga, you know what I'm talking about. It's the Rosine arc. First of all, very fucked up arc. The whole story is very messed up. But I think that is the best mini arc. I would say if it wasn't, unfortunately, it's not that important to the overall story, but I would say that's my favorite arc of Berserk purely because the fights are so, it has some of the best fights, which to this day I still think I have not been able to see many mangas where I'm so invested into a fight. It's literally just a fight. And I've read a lot of mangas from Berserk. The list is long, and as I keep making reviews, you're gonna realize I've been reading for a long time and I don't plan to stop anytime soon. But that one fight really made me understand how incredible manga can be. And it's just so good. And there's so many fights. Again, I couldn't list them all because there's just so many iconic moments where I just went through my mental image and I got like 10, which I could have mentioned right now. It's so fucking good. The character development in Berserk is also so incredible. Specifically, Guts. I think Guts is a wonderful protagonist. It's incredible. His character growth from the start to current day Berserk. It's absolutely fantastic. So incredible. I think Farnese has the second. I would say Farnese has even better character development than Guts does. It's just beautiful. The characters are so well written. I think Griffith is an incredibly written villain, antagonist. No, he's just a villain. He's just a monster. He's horrible. But I just think the characters are written very well, except for one, which we'll get to when I'm talking about why it's not flawless, right? And honestly, I love how incredibly long the journey is. Again, starting Berserk as your first manga is, you don't know what to expect from manga at that point, right? And this is just new to me, and it was super long when I started as well. There were so many chapters, and you just get so attached to the story, you get so attached to the character. I'll be honest, I did not find Berserk that interesting until it reached, the eclipse, and that's when I was like, what the fuck am I reading? Because everything before the eclipse, even though I was not used to reading mangas, I kind of seen it or read it kind of in books, and I had an idea of it. And then the eclipse happened, and I was super into it because I was like, what the fuck is happening? I have no idea what's happening. And post eclipse, again, the Lost Children arc just made me get so into Berserk. I was like, holy fuck, this is incredible. And then I believe the Convection arc was next, and then I was just like, okay, I'm finishing this. I don't care what happens. Doesn't matter if I ever read another manga in my life, I'm finishing Berserk. And honestly, I'm so happy I did. It's so intense. The world building is so incredible. The lore surrounding the entire world is incredible. The God Hand lore is fantastic. Whatever Griffith is doing now with his fucking apostles, it's fantastic. Everything about it, it just sucks you in. I think it's great. And I mentioned this before, but Guts is genuinely one of the more perfect protagonists. His journey from start to end is so incredible. And again, other side of the same coin, Griffith is such a good antagonist. I feel like even though I didn't appreciate Golden Age at the time when I was reading, it was really necessary to really cement the characters. But holy fuck, these are like good written characters, and this is a great story. Now, as much as I love Berserk, I am willing to admit it's not perfect. And why is that? I hate how they treated Casca. I think it is one of the worst character arcs in Berserk. I hate how strong. I'm not joking. Like pre-post eclipse. So basically, before the Lost Children or the Conviction arc started, Casca was like top 2 characters for me. Unfortunately, not no one, because Guts is my favorite, but she was top 2. She was incredible. Casca's character is so strongly written till the eclipse, and then it just becomes horrible. I hate what they did with the character. Do I have a better solution? I don't think so, but I absolutely hate how she became so non-existent for such a long time in the story. where when she kind of gained importance, I just didn't care anymore. I'm gonna be honest. It was just I hate it. I hate it. I think that's one of my biggest complaints from Berserk. And also, I will say the whole woman getting sexually assaulted does get a bit much, and it does get a bit repetitive, to the point where it's almost like you don't need to show it anymore. Because okay, there are points where it's necessary. I get it, but then you don't have to reiterate it every time there's like a big danger, and it just almost feels weird. I don't like seeing women being groped and assaulted by monsters with three dicks. It just, I don't. Uh, I do not need to see a horse doing stuff with a woman. It just sometimes can get a bit strange, to the point where it's like, what am I reading? I do not like that. I feel like that is also another thing which kind of pissed me off when I was reading. And unfortunately, the story does lose steam towards the end. I know everyone loves the Berserker armor and everything. For me personally, I feel like the holy war between, I believe, what, Ganeshka? Is that the king's name? The king and Griffith. I think at that point is where the quality started to fall off for me. I think towards the end of that arc. Because that arc is still wonderful, right? But it almost was like, I don't want to know this much about Griffith. And like, I think it was like quite a series of chapters where I believe we barely saw Guts. And I think that's where the story started to lose a little steam. And then as it went on, the story lost more and more steam, and unfortunately the author passed away, rest in peace. I know they're still continuing it, but whatever. So I do feel like where it is right now, I'm not that interested. I don't feel like, I'm not eager to see the next chapter. Doesn't help the fact that it comes once in 6 months. I'm not eager to see where the story is headed. For me, Berserk is done. It's in my head. My head canon is that, yeah, it's over. And what a tragic way to end it, huh? For me, it got over when like Griffith took her away again. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, those are the things I don't like about Berserk, which is why it is a 9 out of 10. Like, genuinely, if those were not a problem, I mean, I read a flawless manga as my first ever manga. That's incredible. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It is a masterpiece. It is one of the best mangas I've ever read. It is not flawless. But yeah, I just thought I wanted to make a video about Berserk, because I make a lot of videos on anime and manga and everything, but I'm surprised I didn't make a video on, the one which started it all, and something which I hold so close to my heart. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.